Well, hello, Sean. Thank you so
Hello.
much. I have
Thank
been a
you.
big fan of your work for a very long time,
Oh, that's
so
so nice of you. Thank you.
I'm very excited to speak to you today, especially about something like Traumatica. I love that you are
Yes.
like the voice of reason for this
I
film.
I feel like I'm the Rodney Dangerfield. No respect.
No,
Was I unclear in any way? I wasn't unclear.
what is it about people who hear a challenge and then have to just do
Right.
it?
Right. And well, it was so funny after the movie in the premiere. There was some guys going, I said, "You like I'm the Rodney? No one respects me." And they go, "Yeah, it's just something about coming from you." So I walk over to them at the end and I go, "Hey, do me a favor. Uh, don't when the red light's on, don't drive through it." And they were like, I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You're like, am I turning right? Is there a sign?
Yeah, right. I guess, but
I
yeah,
love
and then obviously have my I told you so moment, at the end, kind of like, what can
Yeah.
I do?
What can I
What can
do?
I do? You know?
After you saw the full movie put together, like, what was your reaction? What did you think?
Well, the funniest part was, so Rebecca Kennedy and I did a movie Crust together that I wrote and produced.
Oh,
We had
amazing.
already known each other as acquaintances. We became very good friends on Crust. And then we started these two production companies and we said, let's do stuff together. Um, and, we've done a short, we've done a comedy series, and they've been award winning, thank goodness. And then they had our first movie Swipe that we just started doing. But then in the meantime, we were just giving each other to directors we knew to say, hey, like throw them in, throw them in. And she said, they had talked to me and I had seen Two Witches
Mhm.
and I'd met the guys and I was like, man, these guys like they do it right. They do it opposite of what everyone does. They spend most of their money. They do a great shooting and production, so it's just those two guys. But they spend most of their money in post with great music, with great special effects, with great marketing. And this is where independents die, and they don't. They get it. They get what's really, really important, and they hire really good actors. And so Rebecca had said, they were thinking of you for maybe Two Witches too. And I said, oh, that's so great. I'd love to be like a warlock or something. But then they said, hey, we have this part that we need. Would you just come down and do that? I went down there for 2 hours, sometime an hour and a half ago. They shot me in and out. It's not an overthinking scene. It's like, hey, when you're on that bridge, don't jump into the river. That's all I'm saying. So it's not a lot to study or, get in intense about. I left and it was so quick. And I remember, then it starts getting more love. And
Mhm.
I go, Rebecca, that's so good for you. And she goes, Sean, you're in it. And I go, I am. I go, oh, that's right. Shoot, I'm in it. I keep forgetting.
That's so funny. And she's so fantastic in it. I
Oh,
talked to her yesterday and I was like, girl, it's not
yeah.
like leaving a headspace on a movie like that because you've been in dark places, especially people under the
Yes.
stairs and things like that.
Yes.
So for someone like you, again, I know you're kind of like playing off your character a little bit, but I think he's so necessary for the overall story of what this is. Like people,
100%.
we don't listen. The traumatic is all about the circle of trauma
Yes.
and how if we just follow the stop signs, if we listen, if we help, if we do the things
Right.
necessary.
Right. Well, look, there's no the doing the right thing is always the hardest. So that means, but what's so great, they set it up. He's drunk. He's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like that's when we push boundaries. That's when we go to edges. And that's why we, test ourselves with stupid stuff when you're not in the best place. So they put it, at least they have him kind of drunk and not really in a great space and pissed about his divorce. And,
he's like,
so more understand it. But I was like, could I have not been more clear?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think horror films is such a great genre to explore such darker subject matter.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I just want to get your opinion on that as someone who is a horror aficionado. I feel like you
Yeah.
can dive into a lot of this.
Well, yeah, and I did that for my movie Crust. It's really about mental health, and how I wrote this funny movie about a sock monster in a laundromat, but it turned out to be this kind of treatise on there's no shortcuts for mental health.
Mhm.
And the cruelest part of trauma and mental health and all this stuff is it comes at a time that you have to do a ton of work, that you will not see the fruits of your labor for months, and you have no strength to do that work and no patience to do that work because you want this out of your body immediately.
Mhm.
And yet you have to do work that you're not going to see any results for the longest time, and that's the hardest part. And that's the work that is so overwhelming that we avoid it and just look for quick fixes, right? And we
Yeah.
do the wrong thing. We drink, we party too much, we do whatever, and it never works. And so when you're in a bad place, you make bad decisions. And when someone says don't open the demon parrot,
Uh,
how about we just take a minute, have a breath, and
what's
maybe not open it up? You
that?
know? And I said, look, it would be the most boring short film ever. But it
He
was really
listened.
funny. One of the guys that we were talking to, we want to do a thing called reasonable horror, and just like a TikTok thing, like a cop going, I'm going to go, why don't you wait for backup? And he goes, if I go in there, I may be able to stop a demon, but if it's a demon, I'll probably die. I'm going to wait for backup. And, roll credits.
You're
And
like,
like,
maybe
don't
I
open the thing. And I'm like, oh, it is kind of weird. And they did want the head on. So I'm going to put that down, roll credits.
right. It's like, what if I don't run up the stairs? What if I ran
Right,
out the back door?
right, right. Exactly. What
Like,
if what if I don't stay in the creepy hotel and take a shower?
yeah. That's so funny. Tie it back. What if I do learn how to stay up my entire life?
Right. Where the guy that obviously is checking me in is not really stable. We
Not
we
okay.
get some bad vibes from him. And
I,
maybe when I know that the killer's out on the loose, I just jump in a car and I leave town.
there you go. That's
Yeah.
the big one, right? You're like, oh, they're looking for people like me.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Exactly. So but that's what makes these things fun, right? The human, it's the ever since Oedipus Rex, it's the tragic flaw. And the
Absolutely.
tragic flaw is we're human and we just go with our instincts. And so it is and I think and the movie we just did, me and Rebecca did, a swipe, is again, it's like unresolved family trauma that gets, I mean, it's everything is, that's what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is. Those
Mhm.
guys are not, they weren't raised in a loving household where they had great boundaries and guardrails.
You're like, no. You're like,
No.
it's fun. No family bonding, skinning
But
people
but
alive.
look, that's what I love about horror, is because Night of the Living Dead was a comment on the civil rights movement. Like, it's all, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers was about the Cold War. And like, they get away with more things. You know Even X is like, okay, exploiting porn in the weird way with, I mean, it just, they always get to explore things that no one else does, because when you do it any other way, it's heavy-handed. And
Right.
horror lets you use analogies and things like that. So, and it's really like having my first movie be People Under the Stairs, and it's so socially relevant, ahead of its time, like decades ahead of its time, is amazing. By an old, like, an old nerdy white guy, Wes Craven, and it's great. And it's great. And every community loves it. You know what I mean? Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I do love that. I love that, you know, it doesn't, this stuff never ends, the
Hmm.
cycle doesn't end if we don't do the work, and the work is long and hard, and we're not in a society that wants to say, oh, we're going to do stuff that'll, help my grandkids, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to do 2 years of work to get my mental health. I'll try to mask it with something else, or do something else, or just because people look for the pleasure, they don't look for the happiness.
That instant
Happiness is the
gratification.
work.
Hmm.
That's the work. And that's what I love about horror. They show you, like, if you don't do the work, this is what's going to happen.
Exactly. And then we are slowly running out of time, but my last thing for you is
Yes.
everyone can watch a trailer, but I always like to get it from you guys. Like, why should everyone watch Traumatica when it comes out?
Well, this is what I like. So when I saw Two Witches, I couldn't wrap my head about what I liked about how they shot a film. And then I saw this and I finally got it. And I went to Pierre and Max and I go, you guys are like the Terrence Malick of horror, because Terrence Malick just does weird imagery, which is, ethereal and we're supposed to get a lot of things out of his cool image. I go, and you do that with horror, which is terrifying. It's just weird imagery and so simple. It's like when you see Paranormal Activity and you go, oh, there's the bed, and then there's the door with the dark hallway. And they sit on that for 3 minutes and they haven't spent a dime in production, but we're terrified. And I go, that's genius. That's genius. So the cop flashlight in the scary walk. I mean, come on, it's genius. It's so simple, but we're in it and we're so scared. And I think that's what you need to see is this new kind of fresh way to scare you. Uh, uh, that I think it's a new and inventive way to scare you while using the same old kind of tropes that we know, and that's what's exciting.